Hello, welcome back to Math Time with Professor Prime, and I'm your host as always, Professor Prime. Today we're going to be talking about math and chess. Chess is an awesome game that has been around for a very long time and has had a very extensive history, which we will not be dancing with today. There is also a lot of terminology involved, and a lot of strategies, which we also really won't be getting into. So here's what we are going to do. We're going to be talking about chess. We're going to be talking about the board, the pieces, how they move, the basics, right? And how chess is inherently mathematical. We're also going to be talking about chess on that meta level for a little bit, just to indicate that there's a bigger picture, right? The chess world is huge. We're also going to be talking about my experience with chess over the decades, which is an insane thing that I'm able to say. So let's get into it proper. When it comes to chess, right, it's played between two players on a board, and that board is a square composed of 64 smaller squares. And on each side in the beginning, both players have 16 pieces each, right? And they're occupying those spaces. They're occupying those squares, and there's 32 squares in between them, right? So on each side of the board, you have your players, you have their pieces, and you have the same amount of pieces, the same type of pieces in the same quantity. And just keep that in mind going forward. So if you're a player, right, like you have your 16 pieces, you have 8 pawns, two rooks, two bishops, two knights, one king, and one queen. And we're going to talk about how they move. And again, we're just going to talk about like the basics because there's like more maneuvers that you can learn down the line and certain things that you could do. So with the pawns, in the beginning, you have an option of how many spaces they can move. They move forward. Past that first turn for each pawn, they can only move one space forward, unless they're capturing another pawn, but that's a whole nother thing. But in that first turn that you're moving a pawn, they can move one space or two spaces. It is up to you to decide that. It's up to you to strategize that. And then if we move to the other pieces, so you have the rooks, and they can move like across a column or across a row. And yes, there are official names for those, but that's the general idea. They can do that any amount of spaces on their turn. And for the bishops, they can move diagonally with that kind of same logic in either direction, any amount of spaces on their turn. With the knights, they can move in an L shape. Like they can only do this like in four squares, right? But the idea is L, right? Any kind of L shape with those general four squares in mind, but that's the idea. Um, and then you have the king and the queen. The queen can move in any direction, any amount of spaces, and the king can move in any direction, but only one space at a time. And the idea is you want to be able to capture pieces as you go, with the ultimate goal being to capture the opponent's king. And so your idea is to get across that board, doing damage and isolating the king. You put them in check. That means they're in danger, and they have to move out of it in order to continue the match. And ultimately, you want to get them in checkmate, where they literally can't move without being in danger. Like they're in danger to the point where they're never not going to be, and then bam, you win. That being said, it's not just a winning or losing thing. It's possible for you to draw, right? It's possible for you to do a stalemate, and there's different ways that you can do that. And again, there's like different things that you can do past just those basic moves, right? Because there's castling, there's promotions, and like inputs on. And then again, like there's like a lot of strategies that you can employ. And the idea is like, is you're trying to like protect your king and get the opponent's king. You're trying to predict their moves. You're trying to plan your moves in advance. And whether we're talking about that strategizing or the pieces and how they move, we're dealing with a game that is inherently using geometry and motion. And these are inherently mathematical things, right? This is what they are. This is what you do. And again, like there are certain strategies and maneuvers that you can use that get insane. Um, and then to go outside of that, right? to go outside the bases of the games. You can have different tournaments, different championships, different just like overall competitions, and different organizations running those, right? And different rules and the way that you progress, right? Because there's and this could easily be another video, but like there's the idea of like the elo rating, where it's just like you're fighting opponents in a tournament, and how you're ranked is based on like how good you or your opponent is, and that's a whole nother thing, right? um but yeah, championships can get crazy. Chess is still like crazy big. There's a lot of money in it, and it's kind of interesting because I feel like it's easy to learn but hard to master, and even if you master it, you're going to be and you're progressing out there, you're going to be in a position where you're fighting or battling or playing someone else who's also a master of what they're doing there, and that's where it gets interesting, right? And of course, with the advent of technology, you've had you know, different types of opponents in its form of like computers come up, and that's a whole another thing. But you also have online chess, different video games as a result, right? There was a more eloquent way to say that, but my whole thing is just there's math and all that too. Math into money, math into competition, math in like the idea of having chess video games and slash online games, and how all those things function and flow, and the logistics of making that all work. Again, chess has been around for a very long time, and it's had an extensive history, and it's still very much evolving. And when I reflect on my experience with it, it's been largely positive. It keeps on coming up in my life. I'm bringing it up deliberately right now, and you can make an argument that all my other things were deliberate in the past, but past that initial introduction to it. But it also just kind of, I don't know, happens to a degree. But no matter how you cut it, it's been in my life. I first started playing when I was a kid, like learning the basics like late elementary school, something to that effect, and then like playing a bit more in middle school and high school, um, and certainly in college. And then there was a point in my my professional academic career where I was working a job where I was like creating like online content, and there was various math classes, but we also had like music and chess, and so I got to do a lot with that, and just see like the kind of insane amount of strategies there are out there, all very names. And I've seen like some things that I just like was doing when I was younger, where it's like, oh, there's a name for that. And that's kind of cool. It can get to be a lot of a lot, but it's interesting. And when I went and I did that particular job, in order to like work on a chess class, like I had to face my supervisor at the time, who had competed and won some competitions. And so that was like interesting, and they were assessing me to like be able to do that, and so I passed that assessment. I didn't get the results that I wanted, but I passed the assessment. Um, so in a way, I did. But yeah, so it's an interesting thing because like whether it was in school or work or just in my personal life, chess has been there. And whether I was fighting or battling or playing, I don't know why I keep on coming to fighting, battling, but like if I was playing a human opponent or a computer, it's been there, and it's been fun to practice, and it's been fun to see. And again, it's something that's inherently mathematical, like whether we're talking about the board, the pieces, and how they move, the overall geometry of what we're seeing, and the general motion, whether it's the motion of the pieces or the motion that we're taking. It's math and action, and I think that's cool. So I think that's about it for me, because again, like you can say so much more about chess, but I think we'll bring this to a close. Chess is awesome. It's been around, and I expect it will be around even longer. I'll see you in the future.